Have you ever sat quietly alone, recalling the big and small events that have happened in your life, and asked yourself, why did I fall into that situation? Why do others seem to go through life smoothly while I stumble and struggle? Is it because heaven is unfair, or because fate has been predetermined and cannot be changed? That question haunted me for a long time until I realized one thing. What we call fate is in fact nothing more than the accumulated result of countless choices and actions we made in the past. Destiny is not a rope dragging us unconsciously forward. It is like a path, smooth or rocky, wide or narrow, shaped by every step we choose to take. Every word we speak, every action we perform, every way we respond to life, even the smallest, most fleeting, quietly bends and redirects the course of our lives. If our behavior is like bricks being laid down, then destiny is the house built from those bricks, the house we must live in for the rest of our lives. I once met a woman named Hunt who worked as a maid in the home of someone I knew. She had little education, was not eloquent, but always carried herself with neatness, respect, and sincerity in even the smallest things. Once, I happened to see her carefully polishing a small glass vase that no one noticed, simply because, as she said, I saw dust in the crevices. The owner may not know, but since I see it, I must clean it. A person who works with such spirit may not become wealthy overnight, but their blessings are quietly taking root. And indeed, a few years later, her child was accepted into university with a scholarship abroad. The employer cherished her and introduced her to a more stable job. Outsiders said she was lucky, but I believe that was the reward for the way she chose to live, honest and kind each day. On the contrary, I also knew a man who had once been a successful businessman. He was educated and wealthy, but arrogant and disdainful, often berating employees, belittling the poor, and failing to keep his word with partners. In just a few years, everything collapsed. Employees left, reputation lost, career destroyed. He lamented, "Why am I so unlucky?" without realizing that the way he treated others had sown the very seeds of his downfall. The ancients said, behavior is the root of karma. Destiny is the fruit of behavior. Everything we experience today, good or bad, smooth or rough, stems from the way we once lived and acted. There is no such thing as coincidence. Heaven does not reward anyone without cause, nor punish anyone by mistake. What we call luck is in truth the blessing born of times when we lived rightly, unseen. What we call misfortune is the bitter fruit of choices made in selfishness, cruelty, or error, thinking no one would ever know. Think about how we treat those close to us, strangers, or the vulnerable. When we lash out, belittle, or vent our anger, does our heart truly find peace afterward? When we are gentle, patient, forgiving, or helpful, does our heart not soften and brighten? That feeling, even fleeting, is the subtle vibration of karma. Every action is a stream of energy, positive or negative. Sooner or later, life will respond in the same energy we once released. The Buddha taught, to know what you did in the past, look at your life today. To know what will happen in the future, look at your actions today. This is karma, destiny shaped by oneself. If you are suffering, do not resent. Quietly amend your conduct each day. If you are fortunate, do not be proud. Stay humble and continue living with kindness. Destiny is always shifting, and the key to its adjustment lies in every thought, every action, every word we speak. Do not wait until everything falls apart to regret. Do not think that kindness is weakness or foolishness. True intelligence and strength lie in knowing how to live rightly in each small choice. As the ancients said, to conquer 1,000 armies is not as great as conquering oneself. The one who knows how to act rightly is already conquering themselves each day. The great turning points in life rarely come from dramatic events, but often start with the smallest things, a sincere word, a kind act, a moment of patience, or a righteous choice when no one is watching. Likewise, collapse does not happen overnight, but from repeatedly crossing moral boundaries, acting impulsively, or taking selfish shortcuts that accumulate like a slow-burning fuse of karma. I once witnessed a seemingly small story with a great lesson. There was a street vendor near my home. He was not highly educated, but very respectful. Whether customers bought or not, he bowed in gratitude. Once, an elderly customer did not have enough money, and not only did he lower the price, but also gave extra goods. Months later, that customer returned to thank him. He turned out to be the father of a local businessman. Touched by the vendor's kindness, he introduced him to his son, and the vendor was offered a warehouse manager position at a new branch. Outsiders said, "How lucky!" But without that pure heart and selfless giving at the start, would luck have ever knocked? The ancients said, "Those who despise others will be despised. Those who respect others will be respected." Destiny does not lie in vague probabilities, but in the natural law of life's responses. Sow virtue, and life will return opportunities. Sow cruelty, and life will grow cold and harsh. I once heard a story told by a Zen master. A man spent his life embroiled in lawsuits, fighting over land with relatives and neighbors. He always believed he was right, demanding others yield, and sued anyone who displeased him. Gradually, villagers avoided him, his children grew distant, and even his wife turned cold. In the end, he lived lonely and frail, with no one visiting. Someone asked, "Why does a wealthy man end up so desolate?" The Zen master quietly said, "Because his whole life he sowed seeds of conflict. When harvest came, how could he expect to reap love?" Painful, but true. In Buddhism, there is the concept of subtle karma, the small acts, fleeting thoughts, or words spoken lightly like the wind, yet still planting seeds. A contemptuous glance, a careless joke that wounds, a selfish act no one sees, all settle like an underground current in the soul. When the time is ripe, that current will push us toward another shore of destiny, not imposed by others, but chosen by ourselves long ago. I once read the story of Tung Tung Ko, a Confucian scholar of the Song dynasty, famed for his integrity and compassion. In his youth, he worked as a tutor for an official's household. One day, he caught a servant secretly eating his master's food. Many would have scolded or reported the act to gain favor, but Tung Tung Ko gently advised him and even shared his own meal. "You are hungry. I cannot ignore it, but stealing is wrong. Next time, if you lack food, come to me." That small incident seemed forgotten. Decades later, that same servant had risen to oversee grain for the imperial court. Hearing that Tung Tung Ko had been slandered and wronged, he came forward to clear his name and brought him back to court for a high position. When asked why, he simply said, "A man who shows compassion to the lowly when in poverty will surely be righteous when in high office." A small act, yet born of virtue, changed a man's destiny decades later. It was not just repayment, but the sweet fruit of a good seed sown rightly and timely. Nowadays, people are easily swept away by external glamour. Success is often measured by status, money, and fame, but few ask themselves, what is the foundation for keeping it all? It is the way of living, the way of treating others, acting with integrity. No one can hold on to wealth if their heart is corrupt, nor can they be truly respected if they only think of themselves. Destiny is inseparable from morality, and morality does not lie in books, but in the choices we make each day. If faced with the choice between kindness and self-interest, remember, a small gain today may cost you your entire future. On the other hand, choosing to act rightly, sincerely, and with compassion is laying each firm brick for the house of a blessed destiny. Life cannot avoid adversity, losing a job, being betrayed, falling into injustice. But what matters is not the circumstances, but how we act when the storm arrives. I have seen people build fortunes from nothing, not because they were extraordinary, but because they preserved their humanity during hardship. I have also seen people collapse because of impulsive reactions, revenge, and resentment when insulted. How one faces adversity is the turning point that shapes long-term destiny. I recall the story of Nguyen Kang Tru. When he was an official, he was demoted to a frontier soldier. People mocked him. Colleagues turned their backs. Yet he did not complain, nor did he neglect his duties. He said, "When I am a Mandarin, I devote myself to the country. When I am a soldier, I devote myself to guarding the border." That integrity earned people's respect, and he was reinstated. Destiny does not lie in rank, but in righteousness of conduct. Another story I heard from a friend doing charity work was about an old woman selling lottery tickets. Once, she was tricked into exchanging a winning ticket for a fake one. Realizing she had been cheated, she only smiled and said, "Perhaps that person needed the money more than I do. I am old already. As long as I live another day, I am still lucky." That attitude moved many people. A few weeks later, a group who heard her story helped her open a small shop so she no longer had to sell tickets. Some called it luck. I call it a blessing born from kindness in adversity. The Buddha taught, The strong man is not the one who defeats many others, but the one who conquers himself in suffering. How one behaves in hardship is the true test of character. Whoever remains kind in poverty, honest when misunderstood, and generous when betrayed, that person is sowing the greatest seeds of destiny. Karma does not listen to complaints, nor measure by tears. It only records deeds, especially those made in weakness, when one need not be kind, yet still chooses to be righteous. I too went through a time of crushing failure. Those who once flattered me when I had power turned their backs. At first I was furious, but then I realized if I acted like them, I would be no different. I learned to stay calm, to greet them as though no hurt had ever happened. Strangely enough, in that darkest time, I met a former student I had once helped. He invited me for coffee and said, "Back then, you believed in me when no one else did. Now I run a company, and I want you as my advisor." My chance to return did not come from the crowd at my peak, but from the seeds I had quietly sown. So, if today you are suffering, being wronged, betrayed, or pushed aside, do not lose your dignity or kindness. How you act now shapes tomorrow's destiny. Do not let adversity make you bitter. Let it make you stronger, clearer, more compassionate. When others choose revenge, choose forgiveness. When others compete, choose to let go. What you preserve in your character when everything else falls away, that is what will lift you when the time returns. There are deeds done unseen by anyone. No one praises, no one rewards, no one repeats them. But heaven and earth know, and your heart knows. That alone defines who you are in your destiny. Some ask, what use is kindness if no one sees it? I smile and answer with an old saying, good deeds bring good fortune. Though unseen, they never disappear. I recall a small story from a friend who worked as a ride-hailing driver. Every day he struggled through sun, rain, traffic, and sometimes rude passengers. One day, he drove an old man to the hospital. Upon arrival, the man embarrassedly admitted he had forgotten his wallet. Many would have been angry or demanded payment later, but the driver simply said, "Please go see the doctor. I won't take the fare. Just remember to bring it next time." That day, he had not yet earned anything, but after the old man left, his heart felt light. Strangely enough, that very day after leaving the hospital, he kept meeting generous passengers. Some tipped extra, others paid double. He said, "I didn't think karma worked so fast. But it's true. When my heart is light, when I act kindly, good things just come." Perhaps coincidence, but I believe the energy of our conduct radiates outward and inevitably returns in ways we cannot expect. Life is not measured by the moments we shine before others, but by the times we quietly choose what is right when no one is watching. You forgive those who insulted you, though they never apologized. You help the needy, though they show no gratitude. You uphold integrity in a world of schemes, though others call you foolish. These silent acts are the compass guiding destiny toward a brighter path each day. In the Confucian classic, The Great Learning, it is written, sincere intention, upright heart, self-cultivation, family order, governance of the state, peace under heaven. It means that before one can influence the world, one must first have a righteous heart and clear mind. Such a heart is not born suddenly. It is forged in daily life, in how we treat others, in how we face circumstances. If we live selfishly, deceitfully, treacherously, no matter how high we climb, we will soon fall. But if we act with integrity and compassion, though we walk slowly, we will go far. A friend of mine once worked in media. He had the chance to exploit a scandal to boost his name. Colleagues called him foolish for ignoring such a rare chance. But he chose silence, refusing to profit from others' pain. Years later, the very person who had been the victim in that scandal became a powerful partner, helping him start a successful project. When I asked if he regretted missing the wave of opportunity, he only smiled. "I did not choose quick fame. I chose lasting peace." That sentence lingered in my mind. In a society where many trade integrity for wealth and fame, those who dare to live kindly are rare lights. Every righteous act, even silent, is a spark in the night of destiny, lighting the path to a less dark tomorrow. You need not proclaim your virtue, just live rightly, and destiny itself will speak for you. Therefore, if today you stand before a choice, benefit yourself but harm others, or ease your way but betray morality, pause and let your heart decide. Life may be short, but character is what we leave behind the longest. and that character will determine who you meet, what you gain, and where you go. It is not fate written beforehand, but every act you choose each day quietly writing the mandate of heaven for your life. I have realized one truth. The way we treat others sooner or later returns to shape our own lives. If we are tolerant, others will be tolerant with us. If we are narrow and oppressive, we will one day find ourselves isolated in the sea of life. This is not only the karmic law of Buddhism, but also the Confucian teaching. Do not impose on others what you yourself do not desire. People often ask, if I live kindly, will anyone be kind to me in return? Many, fearing loss, choose to live coldly and react harshly. But destiny is not determined by temporary losses. It is shaped by the heart you cultivate over the long run. Confucius once said, "Virtue is the root, talent is only the branches." A person with virtue, even without asking, will meet fortune. A person lacking virtue, no matter how talented, will eventually fall. I know a touching story. Back in school, a poor student had his lunch stolen by classmates. Another student, who came from a well-off family, quietly shared his meal for a week without anyone knowing. Years later, the poor boy became the director of a company. He sought out his old classmate and offered him the position of head of HR. When the press asked why, he simply replied, "Someone who can be kind without needing recognition. That is the person I can truly trust." That story illustrates Mencius's words. Human nature is originally good. Within each of us lies a seed of kindness. When nourished with compassion and integrity, it blossoms in the most unexpected moments. No one is obligated to live kindly, but when you choose to act with a clear heart, heaven and earth will bear witness. The universe moves in ways beyond reason. Helping someone today may not bring gratitude immediately, but the right person will appear when you need them most. That is the hidden fruit of compassion, quiet, uncalculated, yet enduring. Confucius himself was once exiled from courts, wandering across states, sometimes so poor he survived on wild herbs and stream water. Still, he upheld propriety and taught his disciples to live with righteousness and loyalty. Because of that unwavering integrity, he was honored as teacher of 10,000 generations. Had he turned bitter, cursed the world, and abandoned his principles, would his name still carry respect thousands of years later? A person with steady character and destiny is one who cannot be bent by circumstance, who does not lose their way because of others' faults. This very resilience marks the difference between those who rise above the storm and those who are swallowed by it. You will see, those who live generously may seem at a disadvantage at first, but they are often trusted with greater responsibilities later. Meanwhile, those who live with envy and self-interest may advance quickly, but they stumble easily. This is the law of human dealings, not just once, but as a lifetime pattern. If you find yourself in an environment full of cunning and harsh competition, do not let your heart grow murky. Hold firm to your own principles. Act honorably, speak kindly, keep your word, and show humanity. As Mencius said, the noble man guards his heart as carefully as one guards against a flood, both flexible and steadfast. How you treat others is a mirror of your own destiny. Live so that when you look back, you can smile and say, "I do not regret how I lived or how I treated others." If you ask me what the hardest thing is in life, it is not how to treat others, but how to treat yourself. With others, you may hold back out of courtesy. But when you are alone, when no one sees, no one controls, that is when your true character speaks. Do you choose honesty or deceit? Do you hold on to dignity or surrender it? Do you forgive yourself or punish yourself endlessly? In those silent moments, destiny quietly shifts. I once met a man in his 50s, living alone in a small rented room at the city's edge. In his youth, he was talented, praised, with a good career and many opportunities. But because of one hasty decision, signing a false document for short-term gain, he was disciplined, disgraced, and lost everything. He said, "What I regret most is not losing my job, but that when I look in the mirror, I can no longer see an upright man." Destiny sometimes needs no one else to destroy it. Betraying oneself is enough to collapse a lifetime. The ancients said, "He who knows contentment is rich. He who knows shame is strong." The greatest strength of a human is not wealth or power, but the ability to remain pure against invisible temptations. Others may never know you lied, but you know. No one may condemn you for a small wrong, but your heart will feel restless. Over time, that unrest corrodes the light within. One who no longer respects himself cannot expect respect from others, and so goodness drifts away. Lao Tzu wrote in the Tao Te Ching, "He who conquers others has strength. He who conquers himself is truly strong." Conquering oneself is not about harsh self-denial. It is keeping the heart clear amid inner storms. Conquering laziness with perseverance, greed with integrity, anger with restraint. Most importantly, it is the courage to face your own mistakes. I know a young woman who once despised herself for past mistakes. A wrong relationship, dropping out of school, a broken family. When she decided to change, no one believed in her. But she did not complain. She began with small steps, washing dishes, cleaning, working retail, and studying at night. She said, "I know I was wrong, but I want to live in a way that allows me to forgive myself." Her kindness toward herself, not indulgence, not harshness, helped her grow. 5 years later, she became a life skills teacher for troubled teens, teaching from her own experience of falling and rising again. Her destiny changed, not because someone rescued her, but because she chose to treat her own soul with compassion. One who can look into the darkness within, yet still guard their light, is the strongest and most blessed. We are often taught how to behave in society, but rarely how to forgive ourselves, how not to destroy ourselves over the past, how to preserve dignity even when unnoticed. Yet these silent practices form the true foundation of an unshakable destiny. In the Analects, Confucius said, "Each day I examine myself on 3 counts." Self-examination is the way of the nobleman, like adjusting the course of a ship so it does not drift astray in the turbulent sea. And sometimes the noblest act is simply to tell yourself, "I was wrong, but I will begin again." That simple admission requires immense courage. But once you can speak honestly to yourself, destiny begins to open in a new direction. Some carry regret for years over one mistake, believing they no longer deserve good things. Yet if one day they can gently take their own hand, not to excuse, but to promise, "I will act differently. I will live so I do not disappoint myself," then even if they lose reputation, wealth, or relationships, they will still retain dignity and self-trust, the foundation for destiny to shine again. One who treats others rightly is good, but one who treats himself rightly is truly mature. Maturity does not come from age, but from choosing correctly when no one forces you, from stopping when sliding further down, from apologizing to yourself and starting over. Though imperfect, you still have the right to live better than yesterday. Wherever you are, in light or in shadow, in mistakes or in search of yourself, remember this: the key to destiny lies in your heart, in the choices of conscience you make each day. When you treat yourself with love, understanding, and compassion, the world around you will change, destiny will shift, and you yourself will become more worthy of life. On the journey of life, no one exists alone without collisions or interactions. Life is a web of relationships: family, friends, colleagues, neighbors, partners. The way we treat them weaves the fabric of our destiny. Some sow warmth, trust, and sincerity into the lives of others, and in return, receive a life filled with meaning and peace. Others only calculate, exploiting others as stepping stones, and when hardships arrive, no one remains by their side. Every act within a relationship, no matter how small, is a seed planted in the soil of life. Each seed will sprout when least expected, and whether it bears sweet or bitter fruit depends on how it was sown. I remember a middle-aged woman in Hanoi selling sticky rice in the mornings, who often gave an extra portion to an old man sitting in the corner of the market. When asked if she felt any loss, she simply smiled. "I'm full. He's hungry. Sharing a little warms the heart." Years later, when she fell ill, that same old man, once a retired doctor, along with his family, took her to the hospital, cared for her, and paid her bills. Her quiet kindness had created an unexpected chain of cause and effect. Confucianism teaches, words arise from the heart, actions spring from the mind. When you are sincere, others may not understand immediately, but they will feel it. Conversely, if you are calculating, don't expect them to trust you forever. A simple inquiry, a small concession, a helping hand. Though small, they accumulate into trust and loyalty, more precious than gold or silver, and may save you when it seems the world has turned its back. In the Analects, Confucius also taught, if our paths are not aligned, we should not plot together. But this does not mean rejecting others. Even if not walking the same road, we can keep respect. Even if not alike in temperament, we can keep harmony. Even if betrayed, we should not retaliate with baseness. That is the character of a gentleman, never losing integrity to resentment. How many times have you been hurt by a broken relationship and wondered why you received wrong in return for right? The truth is, no one is obliged to return what you gave. But life, in its own way, always balances it. Perhaps the person you trusted failed you, but another came to make it up tenfold. Perhaps your family did not understand you, but a stranger reached out a hand. That is the sweet fruit from right conduct, even when it once seemed lost. Therefore, always choose goodwill first. In arguments, yield. In disagreements, keep silence instead of causing harm. In cooperation, keep your word. In kinship, keep your heart broad. Even when leaving someone behind, depart peacefully, without sowing hatred. As the ancients said, leave someone a way back, and you leave yourself fortune as well. From how you act in adversity, in relationships, with yourself, to the smallest daily moments, destiny is not a pre-given gift, but the result of countless actions, thoughts, and choices each day. No one is born fated to be rich or poor, happy or miserable. Each time you choose kindness over calculation, honesty over deceit, patience over anger, you place another brick on the path of your destiny. One who can bow their head to their mistakes is noble. One who upholds virtue even when oppressed is worthy of respect. One who keeps their word in work, their humanity in relationships, and their sincerity in communication is opening doors of fortune without needing to beg for them. Destiny is not in the hands of others, but in each choice, each word, each reaction, each way you treat yourself and those around you. The ancients said, "The gentleman is cautious in conduct, respectful in speech, humble in connection, and honest with himself." These qualities form the deep virtue that can carry a great fate. Live kindly, and destiny endures. Live upright, and the path steadies. Live with compassion, and the world around you will soften. Life is full of trials. If you cannot yet change your circumstances, at least choose the right conduct so you do not lose yourself. A person who fails but preserves integrity still has a chance to rise again. But one who trades away character for small gains, no matter how high they climb, will never truly be at peace. If you have the patience to live kindly, the courage to admit faults and correct them, and the compassion to resist repaying evil with evil, you are planting the seeds of blessing, peace, and a bright destiny for yourself. Thank you for listening to the end of this video. If what I shared today resonated with you, please press like to let me know you're walking this path with me. Share this video with your loved ones and friends. Perhaps it will awaken someone, guiding them to change the direction of their life. And if you wish to continue exploring the depths of human existence with me, subscribe to the channel Awakened Perspective, where together we light the soul with wisdom and compassion.